Harold Mitchell stands alone on his front porch, staring at a worn photograph. In it, a golden retriever named Charlie sits beside Harold's late wife Sarah, both smiling at the camera. Now, in his final days, Harold has just one wish: to see Charlie one last time. The dog disappeared shortly after Sarah's death, leaving Harold without his last connection to their happy years together. The local community searched for months, but Charlie seemed to have vanished into thin air. No one could have guessed that this simple wish would uncover a secret that Sarah had planned years ago, or that a loyal dog's return would change everything Harold thought he knew about his wife's final days. Could Sarah's last message, buried for years, hold the key to giving Harold a second chance at happiness? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The morning sun filters through lace curtains Sarah had hung decades ago, casting familiar patterns across Harold's breakfast table. His wedding ring catches the light as he stirs his coffee, black, no sugar, the same way he's taken it for 45 years. The gold band has worn thin in places, marking nearly half a century of morning routines, goodbye kisses, and held hands through both joy and sorrow. "You're being silly again, Sarah," he murmurs to the empty chair across from him. It's become a habit, these quiet conversations with her memory. The real Sarah would have teased him about talking to himself, but she also would have understood. She always understood. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimes 8. Right on schedule. Harold glances at the pristine plate and unused coffee cup he still sets out every morning, then carefully returns them to the cabinet. Some habits are harder to break than others. His phone buzzes, Beth's daily check-in, his daughter's contact photo appears on the screen, her smile so much like her mother's it makes his heart ache. "Morning, Dad." Beth's voice is warm but carries an undercurrent of worry he's learned to recognize. "How are you feeling today?" "Right as rain," he responds automatically, though the arthritis in his hand suggests otherwise. "Just finished breakfast." "Both plates?" Beth asks gently. There's no judgment in her voice, just concern. Harold looks at the cabinet where he'd just stored Sarah's unused settings. "You know me too well, sweetheart. I learned from the best." A pause. "Dad, I've been thinking, maybe it's time to consider—" "Beth," he interrupts, softer than he means to. "Not today, okay?" The silence stretches between them, filled with unspoken words and growing concerns. Through the window, Harold watches Mrs. Peterson from next door tending her roses. Sarah's garden, once the pride of the neighborhood, has become a tangle of wild growth since Charlie disappeared. He can't bring himself to tend it. It was their special place, Sarah and that dog, spending hours together while she planted and Charlie supervised from his favorite sunny spot. "I found something yesterday," Beth says finally, changing the subject. "An old video from Mom's birthday, the one where Charlie got into the cake." Harold's laugh surprises him with its strength. "That dog had frosting in his whiskers for days. Your mother couldn't even pretend to be mad at him. He was always her partner in crime," Beth agrees. "Remember how they used to conspire to get you to take afternoon breaks? Charlie would bring your slippers, and Mom would just happen to have a fresh pot of tea ready." The memory warms him like sunlight. Sarah had always known when he was working too hard in his home office, but it was Charlie who executed their relaxation campaigns. The dog would nose open his office door, tail wagging with determination, Harold's worn leather slippers gentle in his mouth. Resistance was futile. Between Charlie's soulful eyes and Sarah's knowing smile, Harold never stood a chance. "Dad?" Beth's voice brings him back to the present. "You went quiet on me. Just remembering," he says, absently twisting his wedding ring. "Beth, do you think Charlie knew? When your mother was sick, he started acting different. More protective, like he understood what was coming." "Dogs know things," Beth says softly. "And Charlie wasn't just any dog. The way he disappeared right after, I always wondered if—" A sharp knock at Harold's front door cuts through their conversation. Through the window he catches a glimpse of Officer Martinez from the local precinct. "Beth, I need to go. Someone's at the door." "Dad!" "I'll call you back," he promises, already moving to answer the knock. The last time Officer Martinez had visited, it was about another potential Charlie sighting that led nowhere. Harold's heart beats faster, despite his attempts to temper his hope. The young officer's expression is unreadable when Harold opens the door. "Mr. Mitchell," she says, "we've had another report." Harold grips the doorframe, his wedding ring pressing into the wood. "Go on." "Mrs. Peterson next door," Martinez gestures. "To the rose garden. Says she saw a golden retriever matching Charlie's description early this morning. Said it was watching her garden from the sidewalk, but when she tried to approach..." The officer hesitates. "He ran," Harold finishes. It's always the same story. For months after Sarah's passing, these reports would surface. A golden retriever with Charlie's distinctive white chest patch, always at a distance, always vanishing, before anyone could get close. "Sir," Martinez says carefully, "I know you don't want to hear this, but after all this time, he's alive," Harold says with quiet certainty. "Sarah always said he was special, different. She'd know if..." He can't finish the sentence. The officer's expression softens. "We'll keep an eye out, Mr. Mitchell. You have my word." After Martinez leaves, Harold finds himself drifting to the hallway closet. Inside, tucked behind old coats and boxes, Charlie's leash hangs exactly where Sarah last placed it. The leather is still supple, maintained by her careful hands. Charlie is tooled into the handle, the letters worn smooth from years of use. His fingers trace the name, and suddenly he's back in that last week, watching Sarah sit with Charlie. In her garden. She'd been too weak to do more than rest in her chair, but she'd spent hours out there talking quietly to the dog while Harold watched from the kitchen window. He'd assumed she was saying goodbye. Now, looking back, he wonders if it was something else entirely, instructions maybe, a mission. Sarah had always been the clever one, thinking 3 steps ahead. The rest of his morning passes in its usual routine, but Harold can't shake the feeling that something has shifted, like the moment before a storm when the air grows heavy with possibility. He makes his bed with military precision, a habit from his service years that Sarah had always teased him about. Dusts the photographs on the mantelpiece, each one a chapter in their life together. Straightens Sarah's collection of mystery novels, still arranged in the specific order she preferred. But his eyes keep drifting to the garden outside, searching for movement among the overgrown roses and untamed hydrangeas. Somewhere in the back of his mind, Sarah's voice echoes with one of her favorite sayings, "Nothing happens by accident, love. You just have to pay attention to the signs." The afternoon brings a familiar cascade of chimes from Harold's phone, a device Beth insisted he learn to use after Sarah's passing. He squints at the screen, fumbling with the reading glasses that perpetually migrate between his shirt pocket and the various surfaces of his home. "Technology," he mutters, echoing Sarah's favorite complaint. The screen displays messages from the neighborhood watch group, another well-meaning initiative Beth had enrolled him in. Mrs. Peterson's Charlie sighting has sparked a fresh wave of community concern. Grace Chen from the bakery. "We'll keep our security cameras running." Tom from the hardware store. "Taking the long way home today. We'll keep an eye out." Susan Martinez, Officer Martinez's mother. "Harold coming by with dinner. No arguments." The last message makes him smile despite himself. The community's care sometimes feels like a weighted blanket, both comforting and slightly suffocating. Sarah would have loved it, though. She always said neighborhoods were like gardens. They needed constant tending to truly flourish. A knock at the back door interrupts his thoughts. Susan Martinez stands there, thermal bag in hand, her silver hair pulled back in a practical braid. "I made too much soup," she announces, the same excuse she's used every Thursday for the past year. "Of course you did," Harold replies, stepping aside to let her in. The ritual is familiar. She'll insist on setting up his dinner. He'll protest that he's perfectly capable, and they'll both pretend this isn't exactly what Sarah arranged before she passed. As Susan moves around his kitchen with practiced ease, Harold notices her eyeing the garden through the window. "I could help you with that, you know," she offers, not for the first time. "Sarah taught me a thing or two about pruning roses." "It's not that," Harold says, then pauses, considering. "Well, not just that. It's her garden journal. I can't find it anywhere, and without her notes." Susan's hands still over the soup pot. "The blue notebook? With the butterfly sticker? You've seen it. Sarah showed it to me once. It was like a code book, all her little symbols for planting times, soil mixtures. She said you never could make sense of her shorthand." Harold's heart thumps painfully. "Did she say anything else about it?" Susan gives him a thoughtful look. "Just that someday it would all make sense. You know how she was with her mysteries." The conversation shifts to neighborhood news, but Harold's mind keeps circling back to the journal. Sarah had been acting strange in those final months, spending hours writing in it while Charlie kept watch. He'd assumed she was just documenting her garden wisdom for future reference, but now, after Susan leaves, Harold finds himself drawn to Sarah's study. It's the one room he's left largely untouched, her mystery novels still bookmarked, her reading glasses folded neatly on the desk. The afternoon sun slants through the window, illuminating dust motes that dance like memories in the air. He begins opening drawers, carefully at first, then with increasing urgency. The journal has to be here somewhere. Sarah was methodical. About her belongings, everything in its proper place. Except when she was plotting something, then items had a way of appearing in unexpected spots, part of what she called her treasure hunt filing system. In the bottom drawer, beneath a stack of seed catalogues, his fingers brush leather, not the journal, but a photo album he doesn't recognize. The first page shows Charlie as a puppy, all paws and excitement, wearing the collar Sarah had specially made. The next pages track his training, not just basic commands, but something more complex. Sarah stands in each photo, demonstrating hand signals Harold has never seen before. "What were you up to, my love?" he whispers to the empty room. His phone buzzes again. Beth's contact photo appears, and he realizes he never called her back. After Officer Martinez's visit. "Dad, are you okay? I've been worried." "I'm fine, sweetheart, just doing some investigating." There's a pause on the line. "What kind of investigating?" "Your mother's garden journal. Susan Martinez mentioned something today that got me thinking. All those hours she spent writing in it, especially toward the end. What if—" "Dad," Beth interrupts gently, "maybe it's time to let some things rest." "You sound like Dr. Parker," Harold says, referring to his grief counselor. "But this is different. I found photos of Charlie's training, ones I've never seen before. Your mother was teaching him something specific, Beth, something important. Or maybe," Beth suggests carefully, "Mom was just trying to keep busy, give herself a project to focus on when things got hard." Harold stares at the photo album in his lap. "You didn't see her with him in those last weeks. The way she'd whisper to him in the garden. It was like she was preparing him for something." "Dad—" "I know how it sounds," he cuts in, "but your mother never did anything without a reason. You know that." Beth sighs, a sound heavy with love and worry. "I do know that. I also know she wouldn't want you obsessing over old journals and photographs. She'd want you to take care of yourself." "I am taking care of myself," Harold protests, even as his joints creak from hunching over the desk. "And finding that journal, it feels important, like something I'm supposed to do. Just promise me you'll rest. And eat the soup I know Susan brought over." "Yes, dear," Harold says, smiling despite himself. "You sound more like your mother every day." After hanging up, Harold returns to his search with renewed purpose. The light outside is fading, casting long shadows across Sarah's desk. In the garden, the overgrown roses sway in the evening breeze, their untamed beauty a testament to both neglect and resilience. Something catches his eye, a flash of blue among the thorns. Harold moves to the window, squinting through the glass. There, tucked into the heart of Sarah's prized climbing roses, is what looks suspiciously like the corner of a notebook. His heart races. The journal couldn't be out there, could it? But then he remembers Sarah's words from long ago. Gardens keep secrets better than any safe love. They protect what matters most. Harold reaches for his coat, determination outweighing the ache in his bones. Whatever Sarah had hidden in her garden, whatever messages she'd left in that journal, it was time to find out. As he steps outside, the evening air carries the faintest hint of her favorite roses, and something else. A sound so soft he might have imagined it, the distant jingle of a dog's collar. The garden at night is different, a maze of shadows and whispers that bears little resemblance to the orderly paradise Sarah once maintained. Harold moves carefully between overgrown beds, his flashlight beam dancing across tangled vines and neglected blooms. The blue corner he spotted from the window seems to have vanished, swallowed by the darkness and wild growth. A sudden wave of dizziness forces him to grab the nearest trellis. Dr. Parker's warnings about his blood pressure echo in his mind, along with Beth's constant reminders to take his medication. But the thought of Sarah's journal being out here, exposed to the elements. The beam of his flashlight catches something unexpected, a clear impression in the soft earth beneath Sarah's prize rosebush. Harold's breath catches in his throat, a paw print, fresh enough that the edges haven't crumbled. "Charlie?" His voice sounds strange in the evening quiet. "Are you here, boy?" Only cricket song answers him, but as he sweeps the flashlight across the ground, more prints appear. They form a deliberate path through the garden, leading toward the old oak tree where Sarah used to read during summer afternoons. Harold follows the trail with growing excitement, his earlier dizziness forgotten. The prints stop abruptly at the base of the oak, and there, partially concealed by fallen leaves, he spots it. Sarah's garden journal, its blue cover faded but unmistakable. His hands shake as he reaches for it, but another wave of dizziness hits him harder this time. The world tilts alarmingly, and he has to sit down heavily against the tree trunk. The journal slips from his grasp, falling open beside him. Through blurring vision, he sees Sarah's familiar handwriting. "If you're reading this, love, it means Charlie has finally led you here. I'm sorry for all the mystery, but some things need perfect timing." The words swim on the page as darkness creeps into the edges of his vision. Harold fumbles for his phone, managing to press Beth's contact before it slips from his fingers. Her voice seems to come from very far away. "Dad? Dad, are you okay?" "The oak tree," he manages. "In the garden. I found—" The last thing he hears is Beth's alarmed voice calling his name, and what sounds impossibly like a dog's worried whine somewhere in the darkness. Hospital fluorescent lights have a way of making everything feel less real. Harold blinks up at them, trying to piece together how he got here. Beth's worried face swims into view. "You scared me half to death," she says, squeezing his hand. "What were you thinking, going out in the dark like that?" "The journal." Harold starts to sit up, but Beth gently pushes him back. "Is safe at home. Officer Martinez found it when the ambulance came, but Dad, you could have—" Her voice catches. "Your blood pressure was through the roof. Dr. Stevens says if the neighbors hadn't heard Charlie barking—" Harold's eyes snap to her face. "Charlie? He was there?" Beth hesitates. "Mrs. Peterson says she heard him. By the time anyone got to the garden, there was just you and the journal." She reaches into her bag, pulling out the worn blue notebook. "Dad, I think you should see this, but you have to promise to stay calm." Harold takes the journal with trembling hands. The pages fall open to where he'd found it. Sarah's handwriting clear in the harsh hospital lighting. "If you're reading this, love, it means Charlie has finally led you here. I'm sorry for all the mystery, but some things need perfect timing. There's so much I couldn't tell you during those final days, not because I didn't want to, but because I needed you to find your way here naturally. Charlie knows what to do. He always has. Just follow him, Harold. He'll show you the way to everything I couldn't say in person. P.S. Take your medication, darling. You can't follow the breadcrumbs if you're stuck in a hospital bed. A laugh that's half sob escapes him. She knew. Somehow she knew exactly how this would play out. Mom always did think 3 steps ahead, Beth says softly. But Dad, look at the next page. Harold turns the leaf carefully. A series of diagrams covers the paper. Not garden plans, as he'd always assumed, but training instructions. Complex commands and signals he'd seen in those newly discovered photos, all laid out in Sarah's precise hand. These are dated from 6 months before she passed, Beth points out. She wasn't just training Charlie for normal commands. It's like she was preparing him for a mission. Harold studies the diagrams with growing amazement. That's why he disappeared right after. He wasn't running away. He was following her instructions. Dad, Beth says carefully, what exactly do you think Mom was planning? Before he can answer, a commotion erupts in the hospital hallway. Officer Martinez's voice carries through the door. Mr. Mitchell, you need to see this. The young officer hurries in, holding up her phone. On the screen is a security camera image from the local animal shelter, timestamped just an hour ago. The quality is poor, but there's no mistaking the golden retriever with the distinctive white chest patch sitting patiently at the shelter's back door. He tripped our motion sensors, Martinez explains. But by the time staff got there, he was gone, Harold finishes, just like every other time. He looks down at Sarah's journal, at the careful instructions she'd left. Because he's not supposed to be found yet. Not until what, Dad? Harold traces Sarah's handwriting with a gentle finger. Until I follow the path she laid out. Every step, exactly as she planned it. He looks up at his daughter with renewed determination. Beth, I need to get out of this hospital. Dad, you just had a serious episode. The doctors want to... Your mother gave Charlie a mission, Harold interrupts. And now he's giving us a time limit. Look at the shelter photo's timestamp. Then, look at the date on this page of the journal. Beth leans in, her eyes widening as she makes the connection. Tomorrow. It would have been Mom's birthday. Sarah always said timing was everything. Harold straightens in his hospital bed, his voice stronger. Officer Martinez, I need you to put out a notice. Tell everyone to stop trying to catch Charlie. He's not lost. He's exactly where he's supposed to be. And where is that? Martinez asks. Harold smiles, and for the first time in months it reaches his eyes. Leading me on a treasure hunt. One last mystery from the love of my life. And if I know your mother, he says, turning to Beth, the ending is going to be extraordinary. Through the hospital window, the evening star appears. The same one Sarah used to wish on during their nightly garden walks. Somewhere out there, Charlie is following her carefully laid plans, waiting for Harold to take the next step in a journey that began months before anyone realized it had started. In his hands, Sarah's journal holds the first clues. And tomorrow, on what would have been her birthday, the next chapter of her mystery will begin to unfold. Against medical advice, but with Beth's reluctant support, Harold returns home the next morning. The house feels different now, charged with possibility. Sarah's journal sits on the kitchen table where Beth placed it, its worn cover seeming to glow in the morning light. At least let me stay and help, Beth pleads, hovering as Harold settles into his favorite armchair. After last night, I'm fine, he insists, though the hospital band on his wrist argues otherwise. Besides, don't you have that presentation today? I can reschedule. Sarah would never forgive me if I let you miss it. Harold picks up the journal, his voice softening. She was so proud of you, you know, following in her footsteps at the law firm. Beth's expression wavers. Mom always said I got her determination and your heart. She hesitates, then pulls something from her bag. Speaking of Mom, I found this while you were in the hospital. She hands him a dusty cardboard box labeled garage sale in Sarah's handwriting. Inside, nestled in old packing paper, is Charlie's old collar, the one he wore before Sarah got him the fancy engraved one for Christmas. Harold lifts it carefully. The leather is cracked with age, but the tags still jingle softly. She could never bring herself to actually sell his things, he says, not even the ones he'd outgrown. Look at the tag, Beth urges. Harold turns. The metal disc over. Behind the standard rabies vaccination information, something has been etched in Sarah's precise hand. 45 to 2713. A combination? Beth suggests. No. Harold's eyes drift to the garden, visible through the window. Map coordinates. Your mother loved using latitude and longitude in her mystery games. Remember that birthday scavenger hunt she made for your 13th? Beth laughs. The one that led us all over town. Mom had half the neighborhood involved in that one. Her. Phone chimes, a reminder. Dad, are you sure you'll be okay? I can make calls, move things around. Go, Harold says firmly. Make your mother proud. I promise to behave until you get back. After Beth leaves, extracting multiple promises about taking medications and answering his phone, Harold returns to the collar. The numbers niggle at his memory. Something about them feels familiar beyond their possible use as coordinates. He's about to reach for Sarah's journal when a flicker of movement catches his eye. Through the window, a golden shape darts between the overgrown roses. Harold's heart leaps, but by the time he makes it to the door, the garden is still. Only, not entirely. The garden gate, usually latched, stands slightly ajar. And there, on the weathered wood, a fresh scratch marks the exact spot where Charlie used to push it open with his nose. Clever boy, Harold murmurs. Still following her instructions to the letter, aren't you? Back inside, he begins methodically, searching the house, looking for anything that might connect to the numbers on Charlie's old collar. Sarah had loved leaving trails of clues. It was how she proposed, how she announced her pregnancy with Beth, how she turned even ordinary days into adventures. In the garage, tucked behind boxes of holiday decorations, he finds a stack of old home videos. One label catches his eye. Charlie's Training, Day 45, Session 27, Year 13. His hands shake slightly as he carries the box inside. The TV remote defeats him twice before he manages to get the video playing. The screen flickers to life, showing Sarah in her garden. She's thinner than in his memories of that time, but her eyes sparkle with purpose as she works with Charlie. Day 45, she says to the camera. Charlie's got the basic pattern down. Watch this. She turns to the dog, making a series of hand signals Harold now recognizes from the journal diagrams. Charlie responds perfectly, moving in a precise pattern through the garden before stopping at the old oak tree. Good boy, Sarah's voice brims with pride. Soon you'll be ready for the next phase. She approaches the camera, her face growing serious. Harold, my love, if you're watching this, and I know you will be eventually, pay attention to where Charlie stops. Every time, the exact same spot, because that's where the video cuts off abruptly. Harold rewinds, watches it again, and again. Each time Charlie follows the same path, ends at the same spot, the spot where Harold found the journal last night. But something's different in the video. The tree looks wrong somehow. Harold pulls out his reading glasses, squinting at the frozen image. There, just visible in the background, a fresh patch of disturbed earth near the tree's roots. A patch that, in the present day, has long since grown over with grass. The local veterinarian's office phone number is still on speed dial, unchanged since Sarah's last call to them about Charlie. Dr. Martinez? Yes, it's Harold Mitchell. I need to know something about Charlie's last checkup, the one before he disappeared. He pauses, listening. Yes, I know it's been 5 years, but wait, what did you say? Sarah scheduled a checkup for him for next week? That's impossible. She's been... His voice catches. Are you sure about that date? He hangs up slowly, staring at the phone in disbelief. According to Dr. Martinez, someone using Sarah's old email account had scheduled a checkup for Charlie just 3 days ago. For next week, the exact date circled in Sarah's journal. The implications make his head spin. Either someone else is orchestrating an elaborate hoax, or a loud bark shatters his thoughts. Harold rushes to the window just in time to see a golden tail disappearing through the garden gate. On the path, perfectly centered, lies something, small and metallic. Moving faster than his doctor would approve of, Harold makes his way outside. There, glinting in the morning sun, is a key he's never seen before, and wrapped around it, a faded ribbon that Sarah used to use for gift wrapping. The message is clear, the next clue awaits, and this time Charlie wants him to follow. Harold studies the key in his trembling hand, its brass surface worn in places that suggest frequent use. The ribbon around it is one he recognizes from Sarah's gift-wrapping drawer, the same type she used on her last birthday card to him. That card, something tugs at his memory, and he makes his way to his bedside table, where he keeps Sarah's final messages. The card sits in the top drawer, preserved in its envelope. He'd read it so many times in those first months, but always focused on the front message. Now, with everything else that's happening, he scrutinizes every inch. The front shows a garden scene, hand-painted. "To my beloved husband," Sarah's flowing script reads. But as he turns it over, he notices something he'd overlooked before, a tiny row of numbers along the bottom edge, written in Sarah's smallest handwriting. 42, 7, 9, 16. A locker combination? A date? He compares it to the numbers from Charlie's collar, but they don't match. Yet something about the sequence feels deliberate, planned. His phone buzzes, Beth checking in. "Dad, how are you feeling? Better?" He hesitates, then adds, "Beth, do you remember the storage unit your mother kept?" A pause. "The one at Riverside. Security? She cleared that out months before." "Did she? Did you actually see her empty it?" "Well, no, but she said—" Beth's voice trails off. "Dad, what are you thinking? I found numbers on her last birthday card to me. 4 of them, like a storage unit combination. Dad, and Charlie led me to a key this morning, a key I've never seen before." Silence fills the line. Then, "I'm coming over. Your presentation is finished. It went well. Mom would be proud." Beth's voice softens. "And she'd be even prouder if I help you solve whatever mystery she left behind." While waiting for Beth, Harold returns to Sarah's journal, looking for any mention of Riverside security. Instead, he finds something else, a pressed flower marking a page he hadn't noticed before. The entry is dated just weeks before she passed. Charlie understands his role now. The training is complete. When the time comes, he'll know exactly what to do, where to go, and how to lead Harold to each piece of the puzzle. My brilliant boy. He's always been too smart for his own good, just like his namesake. Harold pauses. Charlie's namesake. Sarah had never mentioned. The front door opens, and Beth calls out, "Dad?" "In here," he responds, still staring at the journal entry. Beth appears, looking professional in her presentation suit, but with her mother's warmth in her eyes. "Show me everything." Harold lays out the pieces. The collar with its coordinates, the birthday card numbers, the mysterious key, the journal entry. Beth examines each item methodically, the lawyer in her shining through. Mom loved patterns, she muses. Everything connected in her mind. So how do these connect? The numbers, Harold says slowly. Your mother used to say numbers tell stories, if you know how to read them. Beth picks up the birthday card again, squinting at the tiny figures. 42, 7, 9, 16. Wait! She grabs her phone, pulling up a calendar. "Dad, when did Mum first adopt Charlie?" "July 9th, 2016, Harold answers automatically. Then his eyes widen. 7, 9 to 16. "And 42, the number of the storage unit," a new voice says from the doorway. They both turn to find Susan Martinez standing there, holding a familiar blue envelope. "Sorry to interrupt. Your door was open and I thought you should see this. It just arrived at the community center." The envelope bears Sarah's distinctive handwriting, "To be delivered to Harold Mitchell on the day Charlie returns." Harold's hands shake as he opens it. Inside, a single sheet of paper holds Sarah's final message. "My dearest love, if you're reading this, then everything is proceeding exactly as planned. Charlie has begun leading you down the path I laid out. The key you found this morning unlocks the truth I couldn't share during my final days, not because I didn't trust you, but because some gifts require perfect timing. You always said I loved my mysteries too much. Perhaps you were right. But this isn't just a game, Harold. This is my final gift to you, to Beth, to our entire community. Charlie knows where each piece fits. Trust him, follow him. And remember what I always told you about waiting for the right moment. All my love, Sarah. P.S. Riverside Security, Unit 42. But only when Charlie gives the signal. He'll know when you're ready. Harold looks up at Beth, then at Susan. She planned all of this. Every detail. That's not all, Susan says quietly. The security camera at the community center caught something else when this letter was delivered. She holds up her phone, showing them the footage. There, clear as day, is Charlie. He's older, his muzzle touched with grey, but it's unmistakably him. In the video, he places the blue envelope carefully in the community center's mail slot, then sits and stares directly into the camera for a long moment before disappearing into the dawn light. It's dated this morning, Susan adds. Minutes after you found the key. Beth sinks into a chair. She trained him to deliver mail, to use specific doors, to orchestrate an entire treasure hunt. No, Harold says softly, picking up Sarah's journal again. She trained him to carry on her legacy. Whatever she hid in that storage unit, whatever plan she set in motion, it's all been waiting for the right moment. And somehow Charlie knows exactly when that moment should be. Through the window, the afternoon sun catches something moving in the garden. All three of them turn to look. There, sitting calmly by the old oak tree, Charlie watches them with intelligent eyes. As they stare, he stands, shakes himself, and moves deliberately toward the front gate. Dad, Beth's voice is barely a whisper. I think that's your signal. Harold grips Sarah's journal in one hand and the mysterious key in the other. Susan, could you drive us to Riverside Security? Outside, Charlie waits patiently by Susan's car, his tail wagging slowly, deliberately. 5 years of following Sarah's careful instructions have led to this moment. Whatever awaits them in Unit 42, Harold knows one thing for certain. His wife's final mystery is about to unfold. Riverside Security looks exactly as it did 5 years ago. A sprawling complex of identical blue doors set into concrete walls. Susan parks near Unit 42, but Charlie is already there, sitting alertly by the door as if he's been waiting for them all along. How did he? Beth starts, but Harold just shakes his head. Questions about Charlie's abilities seem pointless now. The key slides into the lock perfectly. Harold hesitates, his hand trembling slightly. Do you want me to? Beth offers. No, Harold says softly. Your mother meant this for me. The door rolls up with a metallic groan, revealing a space that's anything but abandoned. Instead of the expected dust and darkness, they find a room that's been carefully maintained. A battery-powered lamp clicks on automatically as they enter. Motion sensors, Harold realizes. Sarah had thought of everything. The walls are covered with maps of the local area, each marked with precise notations in Sarah's handwriting. Red. Strings connect various locations, creating a web of intersecting lines. At the center of it all, a large photograph of their garden hangs like a centerpiece. Look at the dates, Beth breathes, examining the maps. Mom was working on this for over a year before. These are all Charlie's sightings, Susan realizes, tracing the red strings. Every place he's been spotted in the past 5 years, they make a pattern. Harold moves deeper into the unit, his eyes drawn to a desk beneath the garden photograph. On it sits a laptop, one he's never seen before, and a sealed envelope with his name on it. She kept this whole place powered, Beth marvels, noting the small solar generator in the corner, the lamp, the sensors, everything just waiting for the right moment. Harold finishes, picking up the envelope. Inside, he finds a single sheet of paper and a USB drive. The note reads, "My dearest Harold, if you're reading this, then Charlie has decided you're ready for the next phase. The laptop contains everything you need to understand why I chose this path. But first, you need to see what's behind the garden photograph. All my love, Sarah. With gentle hands, Harold lifts the framed photograph from the wall, revealing a small safe. The numbers from Charlie's collar, 45, 27, 13, suddenly make sense. The safe opens with a soft click, and Harold catches his breath. Inside lies a thick manila envelope and another note in Sarah's hand. For the community board meeting, when Charlie gives the signal. Community board? Susan steps forward. We have one scheduled for tomorrow evening, the first since Mom was chairperson, Beth finishes quietly. Harold opens the manila envelope carefully. Legal documents spill out. Property deeds, bank statements, and detailed plans for something called Sarah's Haven. Beth, ever the lawyer, scans the documents with widening eyes. Dad, Mom bought land, a lot of it, the old Wilson property on the edge of town, the abandoned animal shelter on Cedar Street. She looks up. She was planning something big. Charlie, who has been watching from the doorway, suddenly barks. A sharp, clear sound that echoes through the storage unit. All three humans turn to look at him. The dog stands, moves to the desk, and carefully picks up a small remote control that none of them had noticed. With deliberate precision, he places it at Harold's feet. The laptop, Beth whispers. Harold's fingers shake as he presses the power button. The screen comes to life immediately, opening to a video file labeled, "Play me first." Sarah's face fills the screen. She looks tired but determined, her eyes bright with purpose. The timestamp shows this was recorded just days before she passed. "Hello, my love," she begins. "If you're watching this, then everything has gone according to plan. Charlie has kept his promise to guide you here when the time was right, and now I can finally tell you why." She shifts, glancing off camera for a moment. "Harold, do you remember what I always said about our garden? That it wasn't just about the flowers, but about creating a space where life could flourish? Well, I wanted to create something bigger, something that would grow beyond us." The camera pans, showing detailed architectural plans. "I call it Sarah's Haven, a place where abandoned pets can find new homes, where elderly animals can live out their days in comfort, and, this is the important part, where seniors in our community can come to find companionship." The camera returns to Sarah's face. "Think about it, love. How many of our neighbors live alone? How many of them light up when Charlie visits? I've watched you these past months, seen how his presence lifts your spirit even on the hardest days. That's what I want to create, a legacy of connection." She leans closer to the camera. "The land is bought and paid for. The plans are drawn. All the legal documents are in order. I just needed to make sure the timing was right, that you were ready to see this not as an ending, but as a new beginning." Charlie barks again, drawing their attention. He stands by the door, tail wagging slowly. "He wants us to follow him," Harold says, his voice thick with emotion. "Dad?" Beth touches his arm. "Are you okay?" Harold looks at the laptop screen where Sarah's paused face seems to watch them with gentle anticipation. "Your mother," he says, softly, "is still teaching me about love, even now." He turns to Susan. "Can you call an emergency community board meeting? For tonight?" Susan nods, already reaching for her phone. "Beth, bring the documents, and Charlie..." Harold turns to the dog, who has waited 5 years to complete his mission. "Lead the way, boy. Show us what Sarah dreamed." As they exit the storage unit, Harold notices something else, the pattern formed by all those red strings on the maps. From the right angle, they create a shape, a heart, encompassing the entire town. Sarah's final message, woven into the very path she had Charlie. Trace for 5 years, one sighting at a time. Every piece of the puzzle had served a purpose. Every sighting, every clue, every moment of waiting, all orchestrated to bring them here, to transform grief into purpose, loss into legacy. Charlie leads them back to the car, his steps sure and steady. But instead of heading home, he looks expectantly down the road that leads to the old Wilson property, to the future site of Sarah's haven. The sun breaks through the clouds, casting long shadows across the storage facility. Somewhere, Harold is certain, Sarah is smiling, pleased, that her greatest mystery has finally begun to unfold. The community center buzzes with excited whispers as Harold stands at the podium where Sarah once presided over countless meetings. Beth sits in the front row, legal documents arranged neatly before her, while Charlie lies at her feet, alert and watchful. "I know this is unusual," Harold begins, his voice steadier than he expected, "calling an emergency meeting like this. But 5 years ago, my wife, your friend and chairperson, set something in motion that we're only now beginning to understand." He nods to Beth, who starts the video projection. Sarah's face appears on the wall, and a collective gasp ripples through the room. Even now, years later, her presence commands attention. "Hello, friends," Sarah's recorded voice fills the space. "If you're watching this, then Harold has finally found his way to the next chapter of our story. And knowing this community, knowing all of you, I suspect you've helped him get here." Mayor Chen leans forward in her seat, her expression intent. "She planned all of this?" "Every detail," Harold confirms as Sarah's video continues. The architectural plans appear on screen, and Sarah's voice explains her vision for the haven. Harold watches the faces in the room transform from confusion to understanding to something like awe. Tom from the hardware store stands up. "The Wilson property, I always wondered why no developers could buy it. Sarah outbid them all, didn't she?" "Through a series of shell companies," Beth explains. "She spent months setting it up. The legal framework is incredible. She thought of everything." Grace Chen from the bakery wipes her eyes. "That's why she kept asking me about expanding my pet-friendly seating area. She was researching market viability." Beth nods. "Every conversation, every community survey, every town hall meeting about senior services or animal welfare, Mom was gathering data, building her case." The video shifts to show Sarah walking through the Wilson property. "This land has been waiting," she says, "just like Charlie has been waiting, for the moment when our community is ready to build something extraordinary." Harold moves to the scale model that Charlie led them to retrieve from the storage unit. "Sarah's haven won't just be an animal shelter. Look here. Senior apartments overlooking the rescue spaces, a community garden, medical facilities for both humans and animals. She called it cross-generational healing." Mrs. Peterson raises her hand. "But the cost, maintaining something like this, is already provided for," Beth interjects, lifting a thick folder. "Mom established a foundation. The initial funding is secured through her life insurance policy and some very clever investments. She even set up a partnership with the veterinary school at State University for staffing and training." Officer Martinez's mother stands up. "The mystery ingredients I've been delivering to Harold every Thursday. Sarah arranged those before she passed, didn't she, to make sure he was eating properly?" Harold blinks back tears. "She thought of everything, everyone. This whole time, while we thought Charlie was just missing, he was watching." Susan Martinez finishes, "Making sure we all played our parts in Sarah's plan, even if we didn't know we were playing them." The video reaches its final segment. Sarah sits in her garden, Charlie beside her, both bathed in golden evening light. "I know this might seem elaborate," she says softly. "A 5-year plan orchestrated through a dog, a series of clues, and a community that never stopped caring. But I needed time. Time for Harold to move through his grief, time for the property values to align, time for the university to expand their veterinary program, and most importantly, time for all of you to see what I saw, that the threads that bind us together are strongest when we weave them deliberately." Charlie stands suddenly, moving to the center of the room. In the video, Sarah scratches his ears, and the real Charlie sits in exactly the same pose. "Charlie has been more than just our pet," Sarah continues. He's been my messenger, my timer, my guarantee that this dream would unfold at exactly the right moment. And now, the real Charlie barks once, perfectly timed with his on-screen counterpart. Now it's time for all of you to help build something remarkable. The video ends, but Charlie remains standing, his gaze moving deliberately around the room before returning to Harold. In that moment, Harold finally understands. Sarah hadn't just trained Charlie to deliver messages or follow a timeline. She taught him to read people, to gauge readiness, to know exactly when hearts and minds were prepared for change. Maya Chen rises slowly. I think, she says, looking around the room, we should put this to a vote. All in favor of proceeding. With Sarah's haven, every hand in the room raises before she can finish the sentence. Harold grips the podium, overwhelmed. Beth squeezes his hand, and Charlie presses against his legs, offering support just as Sarah had trained him to do. There's one more thing, Beth says, pulling out a final document. Mom left specific instructions about the Haven's first resident. She looks at her father. Dad, she hoped that I would help run it. Harold finishes, remembering Sarah's words about timing and readiness. That's why Charlie waited until now, until I was ready to stop living in memories and start building new ones. Through the community center windows, the setting sun paints the sky in shades of gold that remind him of Sarah's garden in full bloom. Somewhere on the Wilson property, a new garden will grow. New connections will form. New hope will take root. Charlie's tail wags slowly, deliberately, and Harold knows this isn't the end of Sarah's mystery. It's just the beginning of her legacy. After the community meeting, Dr. Martinez asks Harold and Beth to stop by the veterinary clinic. There's something you need to see, she says, her expression unreadable. The clinic is quiet after hours, smelling of disinfectant and kibble. Dr. Martinez leads them to her office, Charlie padding silently beside them. She pulls out a thick file labeled simply C. I thought I was losing my mind, she says, opening the folder. Every few months, like clockwork, Charlie would appear at our back door for his checkup, always at night, always when I was working late. She spreads out medical records across her desk. Look at the signatures. Beth leans in, then inhales sharply. That's Mom's signature, but these dates, all after she passed, Dr. Martinez confirms. I thought maybe I don't know, wanting to see her handwriting. But then I found this. She pulls out a letter, dated just weeks before Sarah died. Dear Maria, by now you've noticed something odd about Charlie's appointments. The signatures, the timing. I need you to keep this secret until Harold finds his way to you. Charlie knows. When that should be. What you've been part of, what you've helped maintain, is more than just routine pet care. Every visit, every signature I left with you to use, every late-night appointment, it's all part of a promise I made. A promise that love doesn't end, it just changes form. Thank you for being part of this miracle, Sarah. Harold sits heavily. In the nearest chair, Charlie immediately at his side. She arranged for his care. All this time, that's not all, Dr. Martinez says quietly. Show them, Charlie. At her words, Charlie trots to the office door and paws it open. A trick. They've never seen him perform. He disappears briefly, returning with an old leash in his mouth. He's been bringing it to every appointment, Dr. Martinez explains, like he's been practicing. Harold takes the leash with trembling hands. It's not just any leash, it's the one Sarah used on their first walk with Charlie, the one that went missing the day she died. Attached to it is a note in Sarah's handwriting, for when the haven is ready, love finds a way. The implications hit Harold like a physical wave. Sarah hadn't just arranged for Charlie's medical care, she'd created an entire underground network of support, timing every revelation, every discovery, to unfold at precisely the right moment. Dad, Beth's voice is gentle. Are you okay? Harold looks at Charlie, seeing him truly for the first time, not just as their beloved pet, but as Sarah's chosen messenger, guardian of her final gift to their community. The dog gazes back with knowing eyes, his mission finally nearing its end. I'm better than okay, Harold says softly. I'm finally beginning to understand. The next morning, Harold and Beth meet with James Sullivan, Sarah's longtime lawyer and friend. His downtown office is a testament to old-world professionalism, with leather-bound law books and a view of the town square. Charlie, to everyone's surprise, is allowed in without question. I've been waiting for this day, Sullivan says, retrieving a sealed envelope from his safe. Sarah made me promise not to reach out until Charlie brought you here himself. How did you know we'd come? Today, Beth asks. Sullivan smiles. Because Sarah said Charlie would scratch at my door at exactly 9 a.m. on the right day, which he did, precisely on schedule. The envelope he hands Harold bears a simple inscription, "When the pieces start falling into place." Inside, Harold finds a document that takes his breath away, a detailed trust agreement establishing Sarah's Haven Foundation with an initial endowment of $5 million. But how? Beth examines the paperwork with professional amazement. Mom's life insurance wasn't nearly this much. Your mother, Sullivan says with quiet admiration, was a financial genius. She spent years quietly investing, building a network of supporters, and leveraging her community connections. The foundation isn't just funded, it's sustainable. He pulls out another document. This is the part she was most proud of, a partnership with State University's veterinary program. Students will do rotations at the Haven, providing care for the animals, while gaining specialized experience in geriatric pet care. And this, he continues, producing a third document, is the masterstroke, a series of grants she arranged with local senior care organizations. The Haven won't just help animals, it'll provide meaningful volunteer opportunities for seniors, therapeutic programs, even part-time employment for residents who want to stay active. Harold stares at the papers, seeing Sarah's fingerprints, all over them, not just in her signatures, but in the careful way each piece fits together, creating something larger than the sum of its parts. When did she start planning this? He asks softly. The day Charlie chose you at the shelter, Sullivan replies. She said she knew then that he was special, that he'd be the one to carry her legacy forward when the time came. Charlie, as if recognizing his cue, places his paw gently on the trust document. In that moment, Harold sees what Sarah must have seen all those years ago. Not just a dog, but a bridge between past and future, between loss and hope. By late afternoon, Charlie leads them back to the garden. The old oak tree stands sentinel, its branches casting dappled shadows across overgrown flower beds. But this time, Charlie doesn't stop at its base. Instead, he circles the massive trunk, pausing at a spot they've never paid much attention to before. Harold follows, Beth close behind. There, partially hidden by years of bark growth, they find a small X carved into the tree. The mark is weathered, but deliberate, and exactly at Charlie's eye level. Mom marked it, Beth realizes. But why here? Why this exact spot? Charlie answers, by beginning to dig, his paws moving with surprising precision. Harold drops to his knees beside him, ignoring the protests of his joints. Together, man and dog unearth something that makes Harold's heart skip. A small metal box, its surface pristine despite years underground. She sealed it in waterproof material, Beth observes, helping her father lift it out. Look, there's a date stamped on the seal. The date matches their last family photo, taken just weeks before. Sarah's diagnosis. In it, all four of them, Harold, Sarah, Beth, and Charlie, sit beneath this very tree, unaware of how their lives would soon change. Should we? Harold's voice catches. Should we open it? Charlie barks once, decisive. Inside they find a collection of items that only Sarah could have assembled. A small vial of her favorite perfume, the one she wore on special occasions. A USB drive labeled Watch at the Haven. A key with a butterfly keychain, identical to the one Sarah used to wear. And at the bottom, a handwritten note, My darlings, if you're reading this, then the haven is no longer just a dream. Charlie has guided you through each step, exactly as we practiced. My clever, patient boy, he's carried this secret so faithfully, but there's one last piece to this puzzle. One final gift that only Charlie knows how to reveal. Trust him as I have trusted him. Follow where he leads, even if the path seems strange. Harold, my love, you once told me that true love leaves marks on the soul. Like the rings of this old oak tree, each year adding depth and meaning. What you'll find next is my mark on our future, my way of helping our love continue to grow. Beth, my beautiful daughter, you've always understood that family is more than blood. It's the choices we make, the connections we nurture. Watch over them both for me. And Charlie, you already know what comes next. All my love, Sarah. If responding to his name in the letter, Charlie stands and moves to Harold's side. His tail wags with renewed purpose, and he gently takes the butterfly key in his mouth. Dad, Beth says softly, I think this is just the beginning. Harold looks at his daughter, then at Charlie, then up at the oak tree that has witnessed so much of their family's story. The afternoon light filters through its leaves, creating patterns that remind him of Sarah's favorite lace curtains. Your mother, he says, his voice growing stronger, always did save the best surprises for last. Charlie leads them away from the oak tree, the butterfly key glinting in his mouth like a beacon. Whatever Sarah's final revelation might be, they're ready to discover it together. Charlie leads them not toward the Wilson property as expected, but to the small butterfly garden behind the local library, Sarah's other passion project. The evening light casts long shadows across the carefully maintained beds of butterfly-attracting flowers, many of which Sarah had helped plant years ago. Of course, Beth breathes. Mom volunteered here every Wednesday. Harold watches as Charlie moves purposefully through the garden, weaving between butterfly-shaped benches and decorative stones, until he reaches a small shed painted with monarch butterflies. He sits before its door, still holding the butterfly. Key. I never knew this shed had a lock, Harold says, noticing the butterfly-shaped keyhole for the first time. It didn't, Beth replies, not when Mom was alive. The key fits perfectly. Inside they find not garden tools, but a small room transformed into what can only be described as a command center. Maps identical to those in the storage unit line. The walls, but these have additional markings. A desk holds a laptop similar to the one they found earlier, and on a small table, a projector sits ready, aimed at the shed's bare wall. Charlie places the key on the desk and moves to a specific spot on the floor, sitting with expectant patience. Look, Beth points to a note taped beside the laptop. Instructions, in Sarah's familiar hand. 1. Power on laptop. 2. Wait for Charlie's. Signal 3, pay attention to the butterflies. Harold follows the first instruction. The laptop wakes immediately, displaying a single video file labeled The Final Piece. Charlie barks once, his signal. The video begins, and Sarah appears on the shed wall, but not as they've seen her in previous recordings. This is Sarah from before her illness, vibrant and smiling, standing in this very shed. Hello, my loves. If you're watching this, then Charlie has brought all the pieces together. Behind you, there's a cabinet disguised as a butterfly decoration. The combination is the date we adopted Charlie. Beth finds it easily, a wooden butterfly that indeed swings open to reveal a small safe. She enters the date, and it clicks open. Inside lies a thick folder labeled Haven's Heart, and another note. What you'll find in here is the true purpose of Sarah's Haven. Yes, it's a sanctuary for animals and a community space for seniors, but it's also something more, a research center. I've been working with Dr. Emily Chen at State University's Veterinary Psychology Department. Together, we've developed a program that trains dogs like Charlie to serve as companions and guides for elderly residents. Charlie isn't just special, he's the first graduate of what will become the Haven's flagship program. Every behavior, every carefully timed appearance, Every moment of his 5-year mission, it was all a proof of concept. Proof that with the right training, dogs can become more than pets. They can become guardians of legacy, carriers of hope, bridges between past and future. The folder contains everything: training protocols, research data, preliminary results. Charlie has been more than just our dog. He's been a pioneer, proving what's possible when we combine love, patience, and purpose. Harold, my darling, this is why the timing had to be perfect. The Haven isn't just my last gift to you, it's my gift to every senior who feels lonely, every animal who needs a home, every person who believes that love can transform lives. There's one last thing. Charlie, in the video, Sarah makes a distinct hand signal. The real Charlie immediately responds, moving to the back of the shed and pawing at a section of wall. It swings open, revealing a hidden compartment. Harold's hands shake as he reaches inside. He withdraws a leather-bound book, Sarah's original research journal, documenting every step of Charlie's training, every insight that would shape the Haven's future program. "The butterflies, Dad," Beth whispers, pointing to the walls. In the projector's light, they can now see that the painted butterflies form a pattern, a flight path leading to this very moment. Charlie sits beside Harold, his mission nearly complete. On the wall, Sarah smiles at them both, her face full of love and certainty. "Now you understand," video Sarah says softly. "It was never about saying goodbye. It was about creating a new way to say hello." The next morning dawns crisp and clear. Perfect weather for the Haven's groundbreaking ceremony. Harold stands at the podium on the Wilson property, Sarah's research journal in his hands, facing a crowd that spans the entire community. Beth sits in the front row, Charlie at attention beside her. "5 years ago," Harold begins, his voice steady, "my wife Sarah began a journey that none of us fully understood. Today, thanks to Charlie and this remarkable community, we finally see her vision in its entirety." He opens the journal, sharing for the first time the full scope of Sarah's dream. The pages reveal not just training notes, but a revolutionary approach to connecting seniors with animal companions. Charts detail the positive impacts on both humans and animals. Studies show decreased depression rates, increased social interaction, improved physical health. Sarah didn't just want to build a shelter or a retirement community, Harold continues. She wanted to create a living laboratory of love, a place where the healing goes both ways. Dr. Emily Chen from State University steps forward, unfolding architectural plans that now include research facilities and training spaces. "Sarah approached me 6 years ago with a revolutionary idea," she explains. "What if we could train dogs, not just for basic companionship, but for complex emotional support? What if they could learn to recognize signs of depression, encourage physical activity, even help maintain daily routines?" Charlie, as if on cue, demonstrates one of his specialized behaviors, bringing Harold his pill reminder and water bottle, just as he's done every morning since Sarah's passing. Every time Charlie appeared in town over these 5 years, Dr. Chen continues, he was demonstrating another aspect of the program. The timing of his visits, the way he interacted with community members, even his mysterious appearances and disappearances, all carefully designed to show what these dogs can do. Mayor Chen takes the podium next, holding up the City Council's unanimous approval for the Haven's expanded mission. Sarah's Haven won't just be the first of its kind. It'll be a model for communities across the country. We've already received inquiries from 5 other cities wanting to implement similar programs. Harold watches as Charlie moves through, the crowd greeting each person exactly as Sarah had trained him to do, gentle with the elderly, playful with children, always attentive and responsive. This was what Sarah had seen in him from the beginning, not just a pet, but a pioneer. Beth joins her father at the podium, unfolding Sarah's final letter, the one Charlie led them to just that morning, hidden in the butterfly garden sheds. Last compartment. "My dearest family, today you stand at the beginning of something extraordinary. The Haven isn't just a building project or a research facility. It's proof that love can be taught, shared, and multiplied. Every dog trained here will carry forward what Charlie has proven possible. Every senior who finds companionship here will be part of this growing circle of connection. Harold, my love, now you know why Charlie had to wait. You weren't just grieving, you were becoming the perfect example of what this program can do. Every time Charlie appeared, every moment of comfort he provided, every routine he helped you maintain, you were helping prove that this dream could work. Beth, my brilliant girl, the legal framework you've helped establish will ensure this. Program continues to grow and evolve. Your understanding of both law and love makes you the perfect guardian for this legacy. And Charlie, my clever, patient boy, your work is almost done. You've shown everyone what's possible. Now it's time for you to come home and help train the next generation. The Haven isn't just my last gift to you, it's my gift to everyone who believes that love, properly nurtured, can transform lives. All my love, Sarah. Harold looks out at the crowd, at the construction equipment ready to break ground, at the team of trainers and researchers eager to begin, at the list of seniors and animals already waiting to be part of this grand experiment. In connection, Charlie sits beside him now, their 5-year journey of discovery finally reaching its destination. But somehow, Harold knows, this isn't really an ending. Like everything Sarah created, it's just another beautiful beginning. The Wilson property transforms over the next 6 months, Sarah's vision taking physical form. Harold walks the grounds daily, watching the Haven rise from blueprint to reality, Charlie always by his side. Today, as the finishing touches are applied to the main building, they pause at a special addition Beth arranged, a garden arch made from the wood of Sarah's old oak tree, transplanted to mark the Haven's entrance. "Ready for the big day, boy?" Harold asks. Charlie's tail wags in response, his grey muzzle now matched by Harold's silver hair. They've grown old together after all, just as Sarah planned. Inside, the Haven hums with activity. Dr. Chen leads a training session with the first class of companion dogs, using protocols refined from Sarah's research. Through the window, Harold watches a golden retriever puppy execute the same careful maneuvers Charlie perfected years ago. He's ready. For his new role, Beth says, joining them at the window. "Just like you are." Harold nods. "Tomorrow, the Haven officially opens, and Charlie will begin his work as the program's demonstration dog, showing new trainees what's possible. As for Harold, he'll take his place as the Haven's resident director, a position Sarah specifically created for him. "Your mother thought of everything," he says softly, "even how to give us both a new purpose." The sound of vehicles outside draws their attention. The Haven's first residents are arriving, both human and animal. Among them, Harold recognizes Mrs. Peterson, Tom from the hardware store, and other community members who've chosen to be part of this grand experiment. Charlie leads the way outside, assuming his new role with natural grace. He greets each arrival exactly as Sarah taught him, offering comfort, guidance, and welcome in ways that still amaze Harold. Dr. Chen gathers everyone in the Haven's central courtyard, where Sarah's butterfly garden has been recreated on a larger scale. "Today," she announces, "we witness the culmination of one woman's extraordinary vision, but more importantly, we begin a new chapter in how we understand the bond between humans and animals." She gestures to Charlie, who demonstrates a series of specialized behaviors, showing how to guide someone to the medical center, how to provide comfort during physical therapy, how to encourage social interaction between residents. "What you're seeing," Dr. Chen continues, "is the result of years of research, dedication, and love. Every dog in our program will learn these skills, but Charlie was the first to prove they were possible." A screen descends from the courtyard. Pergola and familiar footage begins to play. Sarah in her garden, working with a younger Charlie, documenting every breakthrough. But now, interspersed with these scenes, are clips from the past 5 years. Charlie's strategic appearances around town, his interactions with community members, his careful maintenance of Harold's daily routines. She was building a proof of concept, Beth explains to the gathered crowd. Every time Charlie appeared, every interaction he had was part of a documented study. The results are extraordinary, showing significant positive impacts on both the humans and animals involved. Harold watches as the first group of Haven dogs is paired with their senior companions. The connections are immediate and profound, just as Sarah predicted. Each dog demonstrates behaviors specifically tailored to their human partner's needs, creating bonds that echo what he and Charlie have shared. "Dad," Beth says quietly, "look what Mom created." Around them, the Haven pulses with life and purpose. Seniors who arrived, looking uncertain, now smile as their canine companions guide them through their new home. Training sessions unfold in the garden, where the next generation of support dogs learns to carry forward Charlie's legacy. Research. Teams document everything, building on Sarah's foundational work. Charlie sits beside Harold, watching it all with contentment. His 5-year mission, tracking through town, maintaining Harold's hope, protecting Sarah's dream, has evolved into something even more meaningful. Now he'll help teach others, showing them the path Sarah mapped out with such care and foresight. Harold feels Sarah's presence strongly in this moment, sees her touch in every detail of the Haven, the butterfly gardens, the training protocols, the careful integration of research and compassion. It's all infused with her unique blend of scientific precision and boundless love. "Well done, boy," he whispers to Charlie. "You brought her dream home." 1 month after the Haven's opening, Harold sits in what everyone now calls Sarah's garden, the central courtyard where butterfly bushes bloom and new beginnings take root daily. Charlie rests beside him, both of them watching the morning. Activities unfold. Mrs. Peterson walks past with her new companion, a gentle black lab trained in Sarah's methods. Where once she rarely left her house, she now leads morning garden walks for other residents. Her dog carries a small watering can in his mouth, helping tend the flowers just as Charlie once helped Sarah. "Your mother would love this," Harold tells Beth as she joins them for their daily coffee. She brings 3 cups out of habit, the third one now used by Dr. Chen, who's become like family. Through the garden paths, seniors and their canine companions move with purpose. Each dog demonstrates behaviors Charlie pioneered, carrying medication reminders, encouraging exercise, facilitating social interactions. But more than that, they're creating the connections Sarah envisioned, bridges between loneliness and hope. The Haven has already gained national attention. Research teams document the measurable improvements in residents' health and happiness, while other communities send representatives to study the program. Sarah's dream grows beyond their small town, spreading like butterfly wings across the country. Charlie, now officially the Haven's head trainer, demonstrates a complex series of behaviors for a new group of dogs. His grey muzzle and deliberate movements command respect from the younger animals. They watch and learn, carrying forward the legacy Sarah entrusted to him so many years ago. And Harold, watching it all, finally understands the full scope of Sarah's gift, not just to him, but to everyone who believes in the healing power of purpose and love. As autumn paints the Haven's grounds in gold and crimson, Harold stands beside the memorial bench installed in Sarah's honor. Its bronze plaque reads, "Love finds a way, Sarah Mitchell's legacy of connection." Charlie sits beside him, both of them watching new residents arrive. The Haven has transformed far beyond a simple retirement community or animal shelter. The Butterfly Garden hosts weekly community events, while the training center welcomes veterinary students eager to learn Sarah's methods. Local schools bring children to read to the resident dogs, and families gather for weekend picnics in the sprawling grounds. Beth has established a foundation to help other communities replicate the Haven's success. Dr. Chen's research team publishes groundbreaking studies on the long-term benefits of the program. Even the mayor speaks of the Haven as a model for future development, proof that compassion can drive innovation. But it's the small moments that would make Sarah proudest. Mrs. Peterson teaching new residents about butterfly gardening, Tom from the hardware store building custom agility equipment for the training program, Officer Martinez bringing potential, service dogs for early assessment. Charlie, grey but dignified, still leads by example. Each morning he shows a new generation of dogs how to bridge the gap between animal companionship and purposeful connection. And Harold, watching his old friend work, feels Sarah's presence in every tail wag, every gentle interaction, every life touched by her remarkable vision. 1 year after the Haven's opening, Harold adds a new photo to his office wall. In it, he and Charlie sit surrounded by the Haven's first graduating class of companion dogs and their senior partners. The image captures everything Sarah dreamed of: smiling faces, wagging tails, and the unmistakable bonds of friendship that transcend age and species. Charlie, now officially semi-retired, but still teaching when he chooses, spends his mornings in the butterfly garden, supervising the newest trainees with gentle wisdom. His own protege, a young golden retriever named Hope, carries forward his legacy of compassion and connection. Beth has expanded the program to 3 other cities, each one adapting Sarah's vision to serve their unique communities. But here, in the original Haven, Sarah's spirit lives on most vibrantly in the daily moments of joy and purpose she orchestrated so carefully. And Harold, watching new stories unfold every day, finally understands that Sarah didn't just leave them a building or a program. She left them a living reminder that love, properly nurtured, blooms eternal. On a crisp spring morning, the Haven's digital community board fills with a special announcement: the 100th successful pairing of a senior resident with their companion dog. The post features a photograph of Charlie sitting proudly beside Harold as they welcome the newest members of their growing family. Each day brings new stories of transformation: a former shut-in now leading walking groups, an elderly veteran finding purpose in helping train service dogs, lonely hearts opening to the possibility of joy. Sarah's vision ripples outward, touching lives far beyond their small town. Charlie, his muzzle now completely white, but his eyes still bright with purpose, continues to demonstrate the extraordinary power of the connection between humans and animals. And Harold, surrounded by the living garden of hope that Sarah planted so carefully, knows that some loves never end. They simply grow into something more beautiful than we could have imagined.